It's funny because most people, if they eat bad seafood, they throw up. But in this case, the fish ate a bad human and he vomited him up onto the ocean. So a little bit different. But Jonah is this guy who really had a message from God. And I want you to look with me at his story. Stick with me, guys. Here we go. Jonah, in Jonah chapter 1, verses 1 to 3, it says, "One day long ago, God's word came to Jonah, Amittai's son. He said, 'Up on your feet and on your way to the big city of Nineveh. Preach to them. They're in a bad way, and I can't ignore it any longer.' But Jonah got up and went the other direction to Tarshish, running away from God. He went down to the port of Joppa and he found a ship headed for Tarshish. He paid the fare, went on board, joining those going to Tarshish as far away from God as he could possibly get." Here's the thing. Jonah did not want to give the people of Nineveh the message that God had given him. He didn't want to go and tell them that God was going to destroy them. God said, "Jonah, I'm going to destroy him. I'm going to take them out because they're doing bad, terrible, wrong, evil things. And Jonah, I'm going to destroy them. So I need you to go and tell them to turn from those things. And then I won't destroy them. I'll forgive them. Jonah, I need you to go and tell them." But Jonah is thinking, no way, man. So he hops on a boat and he goes the other direction thinking that he can get away from God, thinking that he can outrun God. But God had a plan for Jonah. Just like God has a plan for you, God had a plan for Jonah. And the plan was to save the lives of people that God cared about. To save the lives of these people in Nineveh. And what I want you to think about tonight is this. We know that God has a plan for our lives. We know that we need to be careful of what we say. We talked about that last week. So tonight we're going to look at the fact that because we have a purpose, we've got something to say. And our friends, the people that we're around every single day, they need to hear what we've got to say. The first thing that I want to bring to you tonight is this, is we need to know what that message is. We need to understand what the message is that we need our friends to hear. What is it that we have to say? Our message is simple. It's the fact that Jesus came. Jesus died on a cross. He rose from the dead. And God's made a way for us not to be separated from Him anymore. Do we do it the way that Jonah did it? I really, really hope not. If any of you guys go to your school tomorrow, I really hope that you don't start shouting from the top of your lungs that everybody's going to die and go to hell. That would be bad. Don't do that. That would be terrible. Have you ever known anybody that did that? That's awkward. Yeah, don't do that. That would be bad. Don't go telling everybody they're going to die and go to hell. That's a bad idea. Here's a question. How many of you have ever been to a foreign country where they spoke something other than English?
Wait,
okay. Been to a foreign country where they speak something other than English? Was it hard for you to figure out what people were saying if you didn't speak their language? Absolutely. It's hard to understand somebody that doesn't speak your language. Or how many of you seen those people? Hey, I'm trying to ask you a question here. How many of you have seen those people that they go to another country and they think that talking slow and loud is going to make people understand them? You know what I'm talking about? American, and they move their hands a lot. American need bathroom. You know, like you're going to understand that. Okay. You know what I'm talking about? Here's the deal. When you go into your schools, and it comes to talking about Jesus Christ, sometimes it's like talking another language. Because sometimes Christians, we say things that other people don't necessarily get. We say stuff that we're like, you're going to die and go to hell. And people are like, whoa, that's crazy. We need to learn the language. We need to understand that our message is not to go to people and tell them all of these crazy things that we've learned in church that they're not going to understand. The message that you need to get across is, how has Jesus Christ changed your life? Why is your life better since you asked Jesus to come into it? Why is your life better since you started going to youth group? Why is your life better since you started hanging out with Jesus Christ? How has Jesus changed your life? That's the message, that Jesus changes our life. And because of Him, we can be made right with God. The second thing is this, is don't be like Jonah. Don't be afraid to admit that you're afraid. I know that when I was in school, it was really hard for me to get out of my comfort zone and to talk about Jesus Christ. I was raised in a Christian family. How many of you have been going to church basically your whole life? Yeah? Okay, so you guys, some of you know what I'm talking about, okay? Here's the deal. It can be scary. Even if we've been in church a whole life, it can be kind of scary to talk about Jesus Christ. Nineveh was a huge place. This wasn't like God asked Jonah to go hang out in Wapato. Okay? This was like God asked Jonah to go to New York City and tell them that they were all going to be destroyed if they didn't change their ways. Nineveh was a huge place. It had over 500,000 people. Their walls that surrounded Nineveh were 100 feet tall. And here's how wide they were. They could fit 3 chariots side by side just on the walls that surrounded the city. So Nineveh was a huge place. I mean, it's a massive place. And God tells one man named Jonah to go and to tell this message. That's scary. Can you imagine that today? Can you imagine having to take that message to a whole entire huge city? Scary. Yeah, just scream it loud. I've been to New York. It's scary. It's like Seattle on crack. And so, seriously. So, this is scary stuff, okay? He's told to go to this big, huge city, and God is like, Jonah, you the man, I need you to do this, you're the man. And can you imagine Jonah when God tells him to go to Nineveh? I mean, just think about it. He's like, God, look over there. See ya. I'm out of here, Bye-bye. And that's honestly, I mean, in essence, that's what he tried to do. He thought that he could outrun God. He thought that he could run away from God and get away from God and run the other way. But that's kind of hard because God is God. So, couldn't really do it. It's always easier. It's always easier to go with the flow, isn't it? Isn't it easier just to hang out and do what everybody else is doing? I mean, I know that. I'm not going to lie to you. It's way easier to hang out and do what everybody else is doing. When I was going into 9th grade, how many of you are going into 9th grade next year? Is 9th grade part of the high school, or is 9th grade just junior high? Part of the high school? Yeah, it was high school for me too. So I'm getting ready to go into 9th grade, and man, I was scared because I did not want people to know, I'll be honest with you, I didn't want people to know that I was a Christian. I didn't. Because I thought, for the first time, when I was in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I hated it. I really hated middle school with all my heart. It was terrible. Yeah, see, I totally understand. And so I get into 9th grade, and I start making friends. I've got some friends who are like seniors, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I got friends who are seniors. And I was like, the man. And I thought, man, but if they know that I'm a Christian, not only that, I knew that God wanted me to be a minister too. And so I thought, if they know that, if they find that out, I'm going to lose all my friends. And I was just scared out of my mind. That's really what I believed. I thought, man, because my friends, my senior friends, they cussed, they smoked, they did drugs, I mean, all this different stuff. And I thought, man, I don't want to do what they're doing, but I do want their friendship. And so I was really scared that I would lose all of that if they found out that I was a Christian and wanted to be a minister. But you know what happened is one day it got out. Somebody found out that I was a Christian. Somebody found out that I wanted to be a minister. And one of those seniors walked up to me. He looked at me and said, Shawn, is it true? Is it true? Are you a Christian? You want to be a pastor? I'm like, oh man, here it goes. All down the drain. Going back to loser status again. He looked at me and I said, yeah, I didn't lie. I was like, yeah, that's true. I'm a Christian and I want to be a pastor. And he looked at me and he said, Shawn, I really respect that. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you serious? Is that easy? I don't know if that's going to be all of your stories. It blew me away. But I honestly thought that all of my friends were going to totally ditch me. I didn't want anybody to know. But when they found out that I was real, when they found out that I was willing to be honest, people respect honesty. That doesn't matter who you are. People respect honesty. Honesty is the best policy. I need to write that down. That's good. Be real. Be real with people. Don't be afraid to admit that you're afraid. When you're talking to God, say, God, listen, God, I go to school and I don't want to lose my friends. I don't want to be the dork. So God, help me be bold. Help me be real with my faith. Help me to be able to just be honest and to share how that you've changed my life. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to talk to God about those things. And then finally, don't forget. Hear me on this. This is important, guys, because sometimes we forget this in church.
Come on, guys.
Don't forget